Hi and welcome to Z Games. Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane and broadcast nationally over the Community Radio Network, Z Games brings you the latest gaming news, reviews and interviews from across Australia and around the world.
Listeners, you have a pocket full of quarters and you are looking for a good time. We are Z Games and we are Australia's most beloved gaming radio show. Joining me in the studio for this episode, we have the king of quarters himself, Razor.
Hey.
There he is. When they talk about Green Wizard needs food badly, they talk about Jodie McGregor.
Hi, Lee.
Who is malnourished, I guess.
Yeah.
But also a wizard.
Thanks,
So
I think.
That's good. The mistress of Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Miss Candy Payne.
That's me. Hi, everyone.
There we go.
Mistress of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's you.
love it.
Absolutely.
I'll take that from now on.
Okay. And I am the Prince of Pack, the Gallagher Gadabout, Lee. And we are Gaming Radio.
Very cool.
What are we doing tonight on this show, Razor?
We had an adventure in the arcade. We went down to Time Zone, Albert Street, Brisbane, checked out a few of the games, so we'll be reporting our findings on that research excursion later in the episode.
Research. Yeah.
All research.
It was all research.
All research.
We are games journalists, and
And
that-
research we did.
Yes, that's our job.
But let's kick this week off with the Week in Gaming News headlines, Miss Candy Payne.
Thank you, Razor. Facebook has made a deal to acquire Oculus VR for $2 billion. Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg broke the news this week via Facebook. The deal includes $400 million in cash and $1.6 billion in Facebook shares. An excerpt of Zuckerberg's statement reads, "Mobile is the platform of today, and now we're also getting ready for the platforms of tomorrow. Oculus has the chance to create the most social platform ever and change the way we work, play, and communicate." The Oculus Rift project was launched in 2012 after raising nearly $2.5 million via crowdfunding website Kickstarter. Since then, the concept of virtual reality has gained traction within the game development community, with many touting it as a technology that will revolutionise not only the gaming industry, but also the world of education and communication. Last week, Sony unveiled its own prototype virtual reality headset called Project Morpheus. Mark Lucky, the 21-year-old creator of the Oculus Rift VR headset, wrote a post justifying the sale on reddit.com. It read, "The partnership accelerates our vision, allows us to execute on some of our most creative ideas, and take risks that were otherwise impossible. Most importantly, it means a better Oculus Rift with fewer compromises, even faster than we anticipated."
So that's a thing that happened today.
Huge news.
Anything that gets me an Oculus Rift headset faster and cheaper, I'm in favour of.
I disagree with that.
I knew you would.
And
Ooh, yeah.
debate.
I mean, the people who backed Kickstarter were backing an independent, open VR headset, and with Facebook acquiring them, that's no longer guaranteed.
Now, those people have also just learnt the difference between what a Kickstarter donation is and what an actual investor is, and how those things are very, very different. But I do agree that there is a strange ethical thing going on here that I'm not particularly cool with.
I mean, they got thousands of backers to put in, $2.5 million all up. Imagine if on the Kickstarter page it read, by the way, in 2 years we're going to sell the whole thing to Facebook for $2 billion. How many backers do you think they would have gotten in that case? Yeah. Also, I don't like the fact that Facebook are potentially sitting on a bunch of very important patents.
Yeah.
This could actually stifle, development in the virtual reality scene, make it a bit harder for other people to enter it.
Playing devil's advocate, Jodie McGregor.
Yeah, I think
Do it in a
the
devil
interesting
voice.
thing, this is my devil voice, about the Oculus Rift coming out on the PC is that it's going to be about more than just games. And having someone like Facebook step in means that it's actually going to reach an audience of people who aren't just gamers, whereas the Project Morpheus that Sony are bringing out is just going to be a thing for playing games on. And while playing games on one of these things is great, I'm also much more interested in seeing it being used as a tool for communication and healthcare, for training surgeons or for psychiatry or for education. There's some really interesting stuff was being done in Second Life, one of the only interesting things being done in Second Life was immersive language training, because it's a lot easier to learn a language when you're surrounded by people who are talking that language.
Yeah.
And online courses for language always butt up against that. That kind of thing is much more interesting to me with the Oculus Rift than just video games about shooting people. And having Facebook on board with that would actually open it up to the people who make those things.
When we had a go of the Oculus Rift last year, it was something that we all remarked upon, which was that as cool as the games were, what we wanted to see was, and I think Candy, you and I were talking about just something as simple as an environment like, the Rome of Assassin's Creed,
Yeah.
but where you could just walk around, in this immersive 3D world.
Yeah.
And so this is something that, is far more likely to happen now, that there is a big mainstream company there rather than just something that would be cobbled together by goons in a garage.
I think that future was inevitable. I don't necessarily think that Facebook becoming involved is going to speed up that process. I actually believe, the future, a large part of our technological future lies in virtual reality. I think that Facebook, I don't trust them because, they're a bit iffy about the whole privacy thing. They like to gather users' data and sell it to the highest bidder. And I think this just gives them another avenue to sort of, exploit our private stuff.
You're still angry with Mark Zuckerberg because he sold photos of your dog to Pepsi Cola.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes.
Interesting you should have that opinion though, Ray, because Minecraft creator Notch has reacted to the Oculus VR sale by cancelling the version of Minecraft planned for the platform. A statement posted on his website said, "I definitely want to be a part of VR, but I will not work with Facebook. Their motives are too unclear and shifting, and they haven't historically been a stable platform. There's nothing about their history that makes me trust them, and that makes them seem creepy to me. And I did not chip in 10 grand to see a first investment round to build value for a Facebook acquisition."
Yeah, that's where I see like the high-end backers becoming annoyed because, you chip in $5,000, $10,000 and then someone's basically made a crap load of money on your donation.
Your donation, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. That sort of makes me feel lesser about the Oculus Rift project.
I do wonder what this means for future Kickstarter projects as well. If something does seem like it actually has a much broader appeal, are people going to be wary of investing in it now just because they'll assume that this is money that they will eventually make through, sale to MySpace or Alta Vista or someone,
I do think this hurts Kickstarter a little bit, although
Yeah.
we'll see. I don't know, it just... The fact that it can be abused like this, raise a couple of $1 million, then sell what you made for $2 billion, yeah, I don't like it. It stinks.
I'm surprised that it was Facebook who bought them. Out of all of the people you would expect to rush in and throw in a couple of $1 billion, although admittedly 1.6 billion of that is in Facebook shares,
Yeah.
in his imaginary money.
Yeah.
But the
At least it wasn't
Google
Bitcoin.
is who you would expect, right? If somebody was going to race in
Well,
with
yeah.
money, you would have
Yeah.
expected Google, which probably would have been a bad thing because of Google's history of forgetting about things. When Google owns something interesting, they have a tendency of abandoning it 3 years later. So I'm actually kind of glad that it was Facebook rather than the people who I expected to throw money at them. Infamous.
You are listening to Zed Games, and that was Hunt for the Ray Sphere from the Infamous soundtrack by Armin Tobin. And the reason that we were listening to that and that you were listening to that, dear listener, is that Razer has recently been playing the new Infamous game for the PS4.
Yep. So it's a third installment of the Infamous series, which basically is a third-person action game where you're a superhero cruising around a city, blowing stuff up.
Which city this time?
It's Seattle.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you play as Delson, who is a Native American, minding his own business in a reserve. He has a bit of problem with his older brother, who's a cop. He keeps arresting him because he's a stencil artist. So he's a bit of a rebel. He's got a bit of a anti-authoritarian streak there.
Bit of a
By his own rules.
bit of a chip on his shoulder.
A little bit.
Is he a lone wolf?
Very much so. He wears a denim jacket,
Haha.
just to give you an idea of how much of a lone wolf he is.
But that's over a hoodie, right?
And a hoodie, yeah.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
And a beanie as well.
That is a lot of rebellion.
That's a
all at
lot of
once.
rebellion right there.
Yeah.
So he's life is, pretty normal until, at the end of Infamous 2, some stuff happens and basically there's more superheroes around. So one day he's just minding his own business and a heavily armored truck crashes, in his village.
Is this going to turn into Daredevil?
No.
Or the Ninja
Well,
Turtles?
it's a superhero origin story, so there might be some similarities to other characters. But yeah, so this truck crashes and a few conduits come out. Now, conduit is the sympathizer word for mutant in this world. The people who are against these mutants call them bioterrorists. So these mutants spill out and Delsin goes in to help. He finds out that he has the ability to absorb other mutants' powers.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I will get into that
So
later.
he's like Rogue.
Yeah.
I just
Does
want
he,
to know
yeah.
about the
does he
power.
find
Okay.
out by kissing his first
He's-
boyfriend?
He's pretty much like Rogue. And, I thought Rogue was pretty shortchanged in the X-Men film series. She had a pretty weak character arc. Rogue in the comic book was like a much stronger, much more awesome character.
Can you do the accent?
No,
Do the southern accent.
I can't do a southern
You
accent.
saw the cartoon as much as I did as a kid.
No, look, I'm not doing the southern accent.
Just call someone
Can I move?
Cher.
Can I move on with the review, Lee?
Please.
Fine.
Yeah. So, it's not long before. So we got these conduits on the loose, and then the DUP, who are like the government anti-mutant organization,
The dupe.
led by Augustine, who's actually a conduit herself. They roll into town looking for answers. They want to know where these escaped mutants are. They torture all of Delsin's tribe using Augustine's concrete powers. And then they
Concrete
Well, she
powers?
has the ability to create concrete, and so she kind of attaches concrete to people's bones.
I've seen a lot of
Dude.
people with the ability to create concrete.
That
Yeah.
should be a real thing.
Yeah, I don't know about
As
that.
somebody that's going through house renovations, that would be an awesome thing.
No, there are lots of
That'd
people
be
who have the
awesome.
ability to create concrete.
Yeah.
So Delsin and
They're professionals.
Delsin and his brother Reggie head off to nearby Seattle in order to track Augustine down so that Delsin can absorb the concrete powers so that he can go back and heal his loved ones.
Ah.
Yep. So we go into Seattle, and the whole town, the whole city, has been put into lockdown. Augustine's put like armored guards on every corner. There's checkpoints. There's surveillance cameras everywhere. So a part of the game is taking back the city from the authorities. Eventually, he has to find Augustine, face off with her, and get that concrete ability so he can go back and save his tribe. Along the way, he meets a couple of other conduits that were involved in the crash, and he absorbs their powers.
So, Ray, telling the entire story of a video game on the radio is incredibly boring. Tell us how to play this game.
Yep. The new powers that we got, Cole from the original game, was a electric man, kind
Yep.
of like Electro. Here you have a couple of different power sets because he, as I said, he's basically Rogue. The first power he gets is the power to control smoke, which gives him a cool like Nightcrawler teleportation ability. He can kind of flash forward, like teleport through exhaust vents and go really fast through doors and stuff.
Does he give people cancer?
Not that I know of. Yeah,
I guess
that's
you
not-
have to find out like years later.
Yeah, that's not really explored in the game. But the rest of the abilities are pretty much on par to, they're equivalent to Cole's old abilities. You can fling a smoke ball at someone, you got a big blast attack, you can throw a smoke bomb and people cough everywhere. The best one is the fact that you can go through vents and shoot immediately upwards to the rooftops, which eliminates a lot of that kind of climbing thing that was happening in the first games. There was a lot of climbing buildings and jumping from building to building. That's been essentially removed.
The first ones, actually, I thought that their parkour stuff was handled even better than, say, like the Assassin's Creed games. I thought they were a lot more fun to move around in. You had a lot more control. But yeah, it was quite tedious when you needed to be at the top of a building.
Yeah.
And, you had to just go from floor to floor, sticking onto the windows and ledges on your way. So they've essentially gotten rid of the tedious part of that. But is that sense of movement and freedom of mobility still there?
The sense of movement is greater than before. As well as the smoke power, the second power he gets is the power of neon, which lets him travel at light speed, and he can also zip up buildings very quickly.
Yep.
So you don't even need to find those vents at the bottom of every building to go to the top of the building. So it's really cool. The power of movement has been greatly increased. You can zip around really fast. You can use that in combat to beat the baddies. And yeah, like I said, there's less climbing, which I think was a good thing. The only thing is the Infamous series, the control of the main character has always been a bit touchy. It's been a bit more sensitive. Games like GTA or Assassin's Creed, the main character has a sense of weight to them.
Yeah.
In Infamous, the main character's always been really light and very responsive. This is still present here and still a bit annoying for me.
Oh, okay.
But with the PS4 controller, it feels a lot more precise. So I kind of handled it better.
Right. How's the actual... The combat itself in the previous games, I always thought that even though you're a man with lightning powers and that's the best thing ever, it felt like every power was actually just a gun. So instead of like blasting your opponents from afar and cackling with glee, you were constantly having to hide behind a ledge and shoot tiny little lightning bolts at them, and it detracted from the power fantasy that a superhero game needs to have. So how does it deal with that? Because I know that this game has taken away the cover system, right?
Yeah. Look, those hitting your enemy with like little tiny smoke bombs is still there, but you do have an extra couple of abilities that you get with each power set. The smoke one allows you to throw a smoke bomb that incapacitates people, and the neon one has a sort of stasis bubble that suspends people in the air, and then you can take them out like that. I won't talk about the other two powers because
you're not allowed to.
Yeah, it's Sony doesn't want reviewers talking about it, and plus it's a part of the story that's part of the surprise, but. You do get a few extra abilities apart from just your standard throwing energy blasts at people.
So what does the PS4 bring to this equation? Why isn't this just a PS3 game?
It's mainly aesthetics that have been improved here. The graphics are undeniably great, and it runs smoothly, very nice. The lighting in particular is really, really spectacular. Also, the controller is used in a number of different ways. The touchpad in the middle handles a lot of the quick-timey kind of one-time events, like you just swipe up and down to execute certain things that don't need a button assigned to them. And that works fine. As Delson is a spray paint artist, a stencil artist.
He's very cool looking.
Yeah, he's very cool.
Yeah.
You have to go around. Part of like
he could hang out with us.
Part of
He's
taking back
cool.
the power from the authorities is stenciling up like very Banksy-inspired, graffiti. And so what happens is you shake the controller, and there's a little there's a speaker in the PS4 controller that kind of gives that spray paint rattle.
Not that any of us know what that sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know what that sounds like, but that's pretty cool. And also when Delson's phone rings, you get the sound coming out of the controller. But apart from these aesthetic kind of changes, the core gameplay isn't really something that couldn't be done on the PS3, for example. It is an evolution of the Infamous gameplay, but it's not like the second coming of open world that we thought it might be.
Yeah, that was the problem. Like, I enjoyed the previous Infamous games, but I also felt that you would get this initial thrill of how great it was moving around being Mr. Electric, but then every mission was a guy saying, "Hey Cole, you got to get over to the other side of town and follow this guy for a while.
Yeah.
Then go into a room and lighten a bunch of dudes." That was actually a perfect impersonation of your weird, like, rockabilly best friend.
I like that guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah,
I don't
look-
know why I didn't film that, because it was a facial expression that just made that accent.
Yeah.
The characters in this one are actually a lot better.
There's no one better than that guy.
The relationship between Reggie and Delson is actually quite fleshed out, and the characters here are really good. The problem is there's not very many of them. There's Delson, his brother, the grandma that represents the tribe, and then there's two other mutants that you come across, and then Augustine the villain, and everyone else is just goons. So the characters that you do have are pretty well defined and great, but there's just not many of them. I should also mention the morality system is back.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that binary good or evil kind of thing. So you can choose to be. Basically, you choose at the very start of the game if you want to be a good guy or a bad guy, because if you're on a good path and you do something bad, that kind of
I
it
find
diminishes your
That's a big
progress.
call to make really early on, I think, because sometimes you just want to get to know your character a little bit before you decide whether they should be good or bad.
You have never decided that anyone is going to be good.
Well, no, because it just takes the fun out of it. I go around being good in real life, so
Do you?
obviously
Yeah,
I choose the evil
we're
of
all,
the two.
we're
But
all agreeing with you about that.
So what are you saying about me, since I choose to be the good person in video games?
Well, you're a sociopath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've got to say that being bad in this case is more fun.
you picked that?
Well, actually,
I didn't mean
the
to sound so surprised.
the first time I went through, I actually did the good guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems
See?
like the right thing to do. Second time I had a lot more fun because you don't have to worry about taking down the bad guys without killing them.
So there are issues of collateral damage again.
Yeah. And plus you can rack up like bad karma by killing pedestrians, and there's a lot of pedestrians around the place. There's more opportunities to commit bad deeds than good ones.
I always enjoyed in the previous games that you could, when people got injured, you would be able to go over and like lightning shock them back to life. And, that's actually a difficult thing to master if you're in the medical industry. But Cole just knows, whatever is wrong with them, lightning saves everyone. And they just get up and go, thank you so much. Probably because you are a terrible lightning man who just made things worse and they need to get away.
Yeah, look, I was hoping for maybe more than just a binary good or evil thing. Like
Yeah.
Mass Effect does it really well where you might be on a good path, but all of a sudden there's like an evil choice that really appeals to you. And I just wish that this game kind of facilitated that more. And, there's a good ending and a bad ending, and there's some missions that are only available to good or bad players. But, it's good for 2 playthroughs. There's no real grey that you can choose, unfortunately. Yeah, so to wrap it up, I actually had a lot of fun with this game. A lot of fun. It's definitely worthwhile if you've got a PS4, but it's not the game changer that I thought it was going to be. Also, the side quests are a bit thin. It's the same for each sector. You kind of have to destroy a bunch of baddies, blow up a checkpoint, and do some graffiti, and then you sort of rescue that sector, but it's the same thing over and over again, so it's a bit thin there. They have done what is called a paper trail, which is a kind of additional mission after you finish the main quest, but that is pretty interesting because it's like an augmented reality thing, but it seems a little tacked on. Like maybe when they finished the game, they thought, the end game is pretty weak, so we have to add something in. But to be fair, I haven't really finished that one to completion. So, but it was interesting. Like you do something in the game, you have to chase the paper bandit. I don't know, he controls paper, but it's a lot cooler than that sounds.
He
So he's like
paper.
he's a dude in a suit,
That's
but he's
not
got
what I was picturing, hey. In
Yeah.
my head, it was this cool-looking businessman made out of paper.
he's in a business suit, but he's got a rabbit origami head.
He's really creepy.
yeah.
Yeah,
looking.
it sounds pretty creepy.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So what happened is I find a clue in the game, and then it says go to your computer, and you have to look at these clues. So you go to your computer, and you look at the detective's wallet,
Yeah.
and you have to use the clues in his wallet to hack his email account and
that's
get clues.
clever.
So yeah, it's something different, something cool. But I guess it depends whether you want to partake in that augmented reality environment or not. All right, well, that's Second Son,
Thanks,
Infamous Second Son for the PS4, available now. Next up, we're going to be talking about our arcade adventures at Time Zone.
Woohoo!
Last week, we went on a research excursion to Time Zone.
It was
Albert Street.
legitimate.
Yep, absolutely legitimate. Time Zone, Albert Street in Brisbane, to check out some of the arcade games. A lot of us haven't been to an arcade in a while. I know that since the era of home console gaming, it may seem like there's less and less of a reason to go into an arcade. But as we found out, that's not necessarily the case. So guys, do you want to hear an interview that we did with Alan, who was the manager?
Sure.
Time Zone's been in Australia since 1978, so it's 35 years old now. This Time Zone here, how long has it been in Brisbane?
2001, it originated here in Albert Street. The building previously was a Replay, and then that sort of changed hands and became Time Zone.
So what is the master plan for this time zone?
To be number one in Australia, definitely number one in Brisbane. We've got a few plans ahead, like I was saying before, about turning one of our office areas into a gaming lounge for Tekken and Street Fighter. The biggest thing, I guess, for myself and the owners of this is to make Time Zone a family entertainment area, so it doesn't matter how old, what genre, what generation, you can actually come and have fun and play games and just chill out and have fun with your mates.
Do you have a personal history with video games? Did you go to arcades as a kid?
I grew up in Sydney where game centres or arcades were, the biggest around the country. We'd be at the local shopping centre playing Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Street Fighter, all of those sorts of things. And then Time Zone really became big, especially in Sydney, I guess in the late 80s, early 90s. And we were always at the arcade.
So what are the most popular games that you've got here in the Albert Street Centre?
The most popular would be Tekken, MT4, which is your midnight international car racing, plus my DJ and my DDR dance booth. So they're probably the four biggest ones that it doesn't matter what you're doing through the day, someone's on it or you can hear it.
Earlier you showed us one of your clients, Dr. Chang, I believe his name was. I guess what you'd call a power user. How much of your clientele are these power users?
We have a lot of passionate people that come in and play, and I reckon I've probably got about 10 hardcore gamers that we can literally call them gamers. Dr. Chang, for instance, I guess he's a doctor of gaming because that's what he does most of the time. But himself, another gentleman by the name of Kevin, they will play any machine in the store. They will beat you regardless of what it is. Their reaction times, their sight, everything that they do is gaming.
Do you think that the fact that the arcade is a public place and these people can showcase their skills is a big part of the appeal?
They love showcasing what they can do because, to be honest, there's not many people that can do it. And you go to a dance club, yeah, people can dance, but they can't move their feet and the timing altogether. So I do have some show ponies in the store that like showing off what they've got.
What would you say would be the most successful arcade game of all time?
I'd have to say Tekken. That's a game that I guess I remember as a kid playing in a single console, squashed side by side with my mate. Today, where you've got the same systems, better graphics, better game consoles altogether. I'm a car racer myself. I love those games and stuff like that, but I've got to tell you, I think Tekken's got to be one of the best there is.
One of the other big changes in the technology has been the online features that have been added to games like the racing games where you can have your score online and log in with an international passport. Have you seen that bring a different crowd of people in, or are people playing differently now?
The days of Daytona and just the single car racing games where it felt like you were driving Nana's Volvo or something like that are far gone. They're not around anymore. We have our normal gamers, but then you'll get guys that come in that used to play Daytona and think they're going to play Daytona, and then they realise, hang on a minute, we're racing international and we can do all this sort of stuff. They actually come back. So it's a better gaming. Without that online gaming, I don't think game centres would last.
The Time Zone is still supporting the local pinball scene as well.
Yeah, so the pinball scene started basically what we have today in game centres, back in your old milk bars and stuff like that. We've actually got national competitions in June coming up. That's actually really good to see, I guess, a basic game of pinball be an international game itself.
Alan, can I just ask you what your personal favourite arcade game of all time is?
Of all time, I'm going to be old school here and say Pac-Man. This little round half ball dude running around eating things, making that weird noise and getting chased by the little ghost. I mean, that was fun, putting 20 cents back in the day, playing that. And I wish we could actually get that back in a new machine today and have that running. I reckon we'd get a lot more people coming in, a lot of people my age coming back playing the old games. So yeah, good old Pac-Man. Can't beat that.
Alan from Time Zone, Albert Street, thank you very much for speaking to Z Games today.
Cool, thanks for your time, guys. Hope you've had fun.
You had just heard us chatting with Alan, the manager of Time Zone in Albert Street, which is where we spent our Monday night doing professional business, by playing a whole lot of video games.
I like to call it professional development. This was a professional development and research opportunity.
Yeah, I developed as a person.
Did you?
No.
I developed my bat skills, if anything.
Your bat skills?
My bat skills, man. Kicked ass at Batman. Just saying.
So should we talk about some of the games that we played?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. How about that Batman one?
Yeah,
Well, I was awesome.
Pretty good.
I got to the boss stage.
So it's
no
just
big
called
deal.
Batman, and there's two Batmobiles that you sit in, and you cruise around Gotham City blowing up baddies.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
blowing up murder clowns and gangsters because you have a machine gun on your Batmobile, and like if I was Batman, I would. Maybe real Batman wouldn't, but whatever.
Yeah. His whole "I don't use guns" thing does not extend to his car.
Yeah,
No.
his car uses the guns. It's not him using the guns.
That's it.
Yeah.
And his car is awesome.
Batman doesn't kill people. Batmobile kills people.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his hands are clean.
And it's not just any Batmobile. You get to pick from every Batmobile, which is what I liked about
Yeah.
this game. All the way back to like the 1966 TV version.
Beautiful.
You can have the one from the Tim Burton movies. You can have the Tumbler from the new movies, and like a squillion different Batmobiles in between.
I was really impressed by the Batmobile selection. I noticed that there was, there wasn't just the Tumbler. There was the Batman Begins one, there was the Dark Knight one, and then there was the Dark Knight Rises one. Personally, I didn't see the difference between the three Batmobiles in the films.
They were there.
Apparently there is, and you can choose between them in this game. What other games, guys? Hey, there was this 4D horror one. What was that one called, Lee?
Oh,
Dark Escape.
Dark Escape 4D. Yeah.
Wow. So this one's in like a closed booth with a curtain.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about it, Razor? How did that go down
Ooh,
with you?
well, you're
Yeah.
you're sitting in this little dark space, and you have a mounted gun.
Yeah.
It should be noted that this game is in 3D, and
4D.
4D. Yeah, so
But you have to wear the
4D.
glasses for the 3D.
you have to wear the glasses for the 3D. But there's other sensory elements as well. There's a cool wind that comes on your back during the really quiet
Yeah, I think
sections.
tall people feel that a lot more. I got nothing.
Yeah, it was just right to the back
It
of my
just
neck.
blew your
It
hair.
just went over the top of my head a little
Oh,
bit.
dear.
The seat also rumbles,
Yeah, it did.
in the chaotic moments. And when a zombie pops out at you, there's a blast
Razor-
of air.
And Razor screams like a girl.
Yeah. So there's an air blast that hits you right in the face when a zombie comes out, and it's pretty effective at scaring the living crap out of you.
Yeah, I was initially skeptical that air would, really warrant the inclusion of an extra D. Actually, sitting down in the machine, I was really impressed by how immersive that is. That you would get a blast of air, just enough of a puff to simulate that sensation of motion before something leapt out at you, and I found that to be a really effective technique. I'm going to set up some fans in front of my PC at home and see if I can emulate that.
Yeah, the surround sound and the vibrating seat all worked together really well. Like from outside, it didn't seem that loud, but sitting in there with my butt vibrating away, it was insanely loud.
Yeah.
It was really immersive, and those inside the controller, there's a heart rate monitor which measures your heart rate, and mine went up, although not as much as Lee's, and certainly not as much as Ray's.
Now, to be fair, mine didn't move from where it was. It's just that I have the heart rate of a hummingbird, which is why I'm so slender. Rock solid,
What?
but still way too high.
So Ray, what's your excuse
What excuse?
for being terrified?
Because it was a scary game. What else do you need?
Scary game. Man, I was playing games like that in high school.
This game is engineered to scare you. I mean, I was scared. Am I going to apologize for that?
No.
They used every D to scare you. They did not waste a D.
It did give a good fright. I'll pay that. It gave a good fright to Ray.
Yeah. You're just lucky that you died before you got to the bit with the elevator.
There was an elevator.
I assume it's a video game.
Oh, he's making this up. There are a few different modes, and that's what I liked about it. You could go in and choose what your fear was. Are you scared of the dark? Are you scared of zombies? Are you scared of death? Blah, blah, blah. So those were the different elements that you could choose from. I wasn't even allowed to play the dark one because Ray was way too scared of the dark, so we had to
Yeah.
go over the zombies. Dude,
Zombies
played
are the
enough
thing that I'm
zombies game.
out of dark, death, and zombies. I'll take the zombies any day of the week.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we need the creators of this to add an elevators filled with spiders level
Yeah.
just to terrify you, Candy.
Yeah, yeah.
When they shoot the spiders, more spiders pop out from inside them.
No, I don't even
And
like
then-
thinking
And
about
the spiders
it.
have
Alright.
clown makeup on.
I'm just
right.
imagining like the air bursting out on my legs, and it would feel like little,
Oh,
it's already
yes,
creeping
even better.
me out just thinking about it.
Yeah.
So let's move on to happy games. We
Just
also
spray
All
spiders
right,
at you.
what else did we
Happy
play?
games. We played Pac-Man Smash, and it was air hockey, but crazy. There's like 1,000 little pucks come out at you all at once, and it was fun.
Multi-puck.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I like that they vamped it up a bit. I mean, because air hockey, these were the sorts of games that I used to go in for, and it's funny that like 12 years on, I found myself being drawn to those kinds of games that were still group games. Like I wanted to be in a machine with other people playing. I wanted to be on the roller coaster. I wanted to be in the dark escape with somebody, and I certainly wanted to be playing the air hockey where there was like 4 people and it was fun, and you know.
And it made the Pac-Man noises.
And it
Yes.
made the Pac-Man. Wappa, wappa, wappa. Yeah, anyway. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
the overwhelming experience was that, the things where you were physically doing stuff or doing things with other people are the games that are the most successful there. And that was the case when we were young and
Yeah.
going to arcades, and definitely that's their driving force now.
Yeah, I think so. How'd you go on Dance Dance Revolution, Jody?
I sucked, like always.
Got
Yeah.
some good video.
I'm sure you do.
You got
Yeah.
your dancing feet on.
I don't have any.
No, we saw it.
It's interesting that it's moved from the front of the store where it used to always be with the fans there.
Like as though that was
to
the
draw
draw
people in.
card.
Yeah, and now it's in a dark corner in the back, and it's only the hardcore that use it. And the new songs are all insanely hard.
Oh, man.
So it's sort of moved away from being a casual draw card thing to being a hardcore thing. I think it's a little bit of a shame. Poor old DDR.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, is that a good exercise machine? We were watching people, and there was a guy there. They have had to position like an industrial fan next to that machine because people just go hard at it. Like it was, I couldn't even keep up with his feet, let alone watch what the hell was happening on screen. It was incredible. Some people are just crazy good at these sorts of things.
Speaking of crazy good, Beat Mania.
Oh man,
That was something else.
got some photos of a guy playing that.
I don't even know what that game is.
It's like a DJ game.
It's a DJ game, and it's like your other rhythm games where the notes come down from the top of the screen. You have to hit the
Yeah,
buttons
you
in
have to hit the
time.
buttons, yep.
But the fact is that there's just so many notes in this one, like maybe thousands per minute.
So we were
And you're hitting like a turntable to scratch as
Yep.
well as all of these insane
Yep.
buttons. It looks harder than being an actual DJ.
Yeah.
we were watching a kid who had come up from Sydney just to play this machine because they didn't have it down there, and he was playing on both sides at once because he is some sort of split-brained octopus man.
He was most excited to tell us that he'd actually flown into Brisbane just for that game.
Yeah.
And he had been there since the store opened at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and he was still there when we got there at 7.
Just peeing into a bucket beside
Dude,
the machine.
dedication. But that's gross. He wasn't that I
No.
saw. But I took some
They-
photos anyway, so check out the photos online.
I didn't realize that Time Zone Brisbane had such a noteworthy selection that like people would come from Sydney to play that game. That there are only
Yeah.
2 places in Australia that have the Batman arcade game here in the Surfers Paradise.
Well, that's what he was saying about the Beat Mania as well. They don't have that in Sydney, and that's actually why he bothered to travel. I think that's pretty special. And they did talk a lot, Alan, the manager, did talk a lot about, I guess, the connection to international games as well. And like when you walk in, it's very obvious that down the left-hand side and the right-hand side, there are just dozens of race car chairs. And they are the sorts of things that are designed to be like a global game. So people come on and you can have your score, and then you're actually competing against people all around the world, and that's the massive
Yeah.
draw card now, I think, and that's a whole new group of people that we're seeing come through.
It's come a long way since the time of Daytona USA, which is the last car game that I remember seriously playing in an
Yeah.
arcade. Because you can challenge your friends when they're not there. You can kind of have a race, and
Yeah.
you can ghost your friend races against a ghost later in the day. Your progress is saved, from time to time, so it's not like you have to reset every time you visit the arcade, which is cool.
Yeah,
It is cool, but at the same time, again, that's what I loved about it. I used to love that I would get onto a motorbike, and my friend would be right there next to me in person, and we're competing at the same time.
mean-
I didn't go in on my lunch break, and then she'd come in 3 hours later and try and beat my score. That was the whole point. I loved
yeah.
being in that environment with people.
You can do that here as well.
Oh,
It's just
absolutely.
that it allows for
The
if
extra.
if you don't have that ability to play against your friend in that time, you still have that asynchronous play, which I think is a really cool additional social element.
Yeah, I do love that it's opened it up to being a world competition. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I walk past it and I go, oh, it's just this little store in Brisbane, but it's not really. It's open to players around the world, which is actually pretty cool.
It's a really well curated collection of definitely modern and, you know, sort of recent classics that they have there.
Yeah. Only thing I missed was the tickets. I'm not gonna, like, everything's on card now. You know, you get your card, you put your money on your card, and then you swipe, and then at the end you swipe again and you get your tickets, so, you know, and then that's how you go and get your prizes at the end. But the novelty was playing all of those games and then watching, like, 96 tickets spit
Yeah,
out.
but I mean, think about the environment, Candy.
Yeah.
All those
Totally
tickets
thinking
all around the
about
world.
environment and tickets trumps environments because it was fun, you know. And then I'd take it to the counter and I'd choose my bangles and my like coloured erasers and things. I don't know, whatever, slinkies. Trip down memory lane.
And coming back to the arcade after 15 or I don't know how many years since I was last in it was really a treat. And I was really interested to see how the arcades have kept up with the times. You know, what sets them apart from your console games and stuff, or your mobile games. It really has to do with, I think, the tactile experience. You know, sitting in the Batmobile as opposed to sitting on your couch kind of lends that extra air of immersion, as well as, you know, the 4D horror one. That was something that you can only get in the arcade. And the four of us hanging out together and playing games was a whole bunch of fun. You know,
Fwins!
yeah, super radio friends, baby. We had a lot of fun, and I mean that you can't really replicate that if we're all screaming at each other on Xbox Live. You know?
Exactly, because I turn it off.
All right, well, that's going to bring us to the end of our time zone coverage. Big thanks to Alan and the crew at Time Zone in Albert
Thank
Street,
you.
Brisbane,
Jump on and
for
have a look at the
accommodating us.
photos. There's some great photos of, you know, Ray looking scared and
Yeah.
the others being Batman for a day.
Did you get any photos of me winning that ice cream out of the claw machine?
Oh, damn you and the ice cream. I knew you were going to bring it up. It's not fair. I didn't win. It's like the only thing I didn't win at Time Zone was an ice cream. Whatever.
Well, I guess I walked away with something tangible.
And I did take a photo and then I deleted it.
And that's going to bring us to the end of this week's episode of Z Games, guys. Thank you very much for listening.
Bye.
We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.